Hello and welcome to Dee Dee Blooms. This video I am going to introduce you to the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis types that I have in my collection. I have a lot of various dendrobiums, and it's such a diverse genre that I don't know, I just haven't focused on them, and I struggle with a lot of them. And these Dendrobium Phalaenopsis have been one of the most challenging ones for me. And part of the reason is they get attacked so bad by spider mites, potentially thrips. Let's see if you can see the damage. I'm trying to get it to focus on this leaf. So a lot of my ones that I've had in my collection for several years have suffered so much that they've not gotten much bigger than this. So I have several of them that have been attacked winter after winter by spider mites. So this fall, I am repotting all of my Dendrobium Phalaenopsis into self-watering. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but one of the things I've also struggled with is hydrating them when I should. So not only spider mites attacking them, but suffering under my care. They get very shriveled by the time I have gotten to watering them. So I want to give them a more consistent watering environment using self-watering. I hope it's successful, and I hope it makes them stronger to combat being attacked by pests. And I'm going to do my best to watch out for spider mite damage. I usually don't catch it. I have such a large collection. I'm sorry this won't focus. I have such a large collection that I just don't catch it sometimes, those spider mites. So thankfully this one put out 2 growths. It keeps trying to rally, and the 2 newer growths are the only ones with leaves. And this one really suffered under an attack, and this one escaped. I don't know why or how, but at least I've got 1 growth. Now this is a division of one of mine, so I'll go over that when I introduce you to all of them, but I'm just giving you a quick peek here. I have all different sizes of self-watering. So I have this little square pot version that I'm putting my smallest ones in. I also have smaller ones like this with this wicking rope thingy. Sorry, this has little legs. I push the moss down into those little legs, and then it seeps up through the reservoir through the legs. I have bigger sizes available here, different types. Some look like this, and you can't tell how much water is inside. You have to lift the top up to see. Others that I have are like this with the reservoir indicator. We'll see what they all end up in, but I got several more to go. And I'm mostly using moss. So I start off with moss, and if it's the leg version, I push that moss down in there, and then I wrap these roots in moss, throw in a little bit of fine bark mix, just a little bit, and then another little layer of moss, a little bit of bark mix, and then a final layer of moss near the top, hopefully to encourage new roots when the new growths come, and then I top dress with the moss. In between those layers, I put in my slow release fertilizer pellets, and I'm pretty generous. You can, in self-watering, it's risky to use slow release fertilizer because you're always pretty much going to have a damp media. So that means the fertilizer is going to be leaching out and probably losing its potency quicker too, I would say. So you have to replenish it maybe quicker. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm probably too generous, but I've not had problems with, I just throw in about a dozen little pellets in a size like this. I've watched videos of people repotting, they put in like 2 or 3 of them, and they always caution. And so I'm cautioning you that I'm not perfect. I lose a lot of plants. I keep more alive and more are thriving than I lose, but I lose enough, and I can't chalk it up to any type of fertilizer burn. I've not had a plant dump its whole root system from being burnt from fertilizer. I've not gotten the burnt leaf tips, except possibly on Miltoniopsis. But Miltoniopsis, I am not going to grow anymore. Every single one of them died on me. I think I've tried at least a dozen different ones, and they all just slowly suffered, got that orange rot, brown leaf tips, so maybe it was a fertilizer issue too. I don't know, but yeah, so I throw in my little chunk of slow release fertilizer, and then after the final layer of bark, I use the mycorrhizal fungi, and I just flick on top the little fine powder. Make sure you don't breathe it in. It is a fungi, so keep your breathing far away from it. I just flick it on the top, and then I top water through, set up the reservoir with some water, and we're good to go with the repotting. So again, mostly moss, little bits, layers of fine bark, and top dress with bark, and we're good to go. So I'll show you the whole collection soon here. I gotta finish all my repotting, so stay tuned. And we're back. But actually, we're back a week later. So I didn't have time to video the end result of the repots of the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. And during this last week, I decided to pull out some more groupings of my dendrobiums to also introduce you to what I have in my collection. This is not all of the dendrobiums I have. It's just a few more extra groups to talk to you about, and there'll be a whole other video for other types of dendrobiums. So let's start with the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis that I was working on repotting. Now I got the majority of them done, and there's still a couple left that are not in self-watering, but when the time is right, they will be transitioned into self-watering. And I feel a lot more successful with the elephant in the room with Dendrobium Phalaenopsis because I got one to bloom. And she is gorgeous. I just love her. This is called Dendrobium Touch of Peach. And I'm sorry I don't have the best light in this room, but hopefully you're seeing some of the contrast. I love lighter colored flowers just as much as I like bright and bold. So just to me, it's gorgeous. You could see like a backdrop of some yellowy green in the center, refracted somewhat by the light. Which it pales as the light hits more strongly in the center of the flower. But I just think it's such a cool contrast how the shading of the flower also produces all these different shades of color. I still have one bud left to open. Here's a bit more stronger lighting. Maybe we can focus in a little better on just the beautiful lip. Has a little bit of striping or pattern on it. She's so pretty. Just really, really loving her. And she's coming from our Dendrobium Phalaenopsis bloom from the crown. And it looks like I have another little nubbin, so I might get a second spike. So from what I understand, they can bloom multiple times from the same crown on multiple spikes over the years. So all of these got put into self-watering here in the back, and these three I got at the same time a little over 3 years ago. And again, like I was saying in the first part of the video, for these dendrobiums and the other types I'm going to also introduce you to in my collection, I struggle with spider mites. I also struggle with keeping them hydrated regularly. And that's just a challenge of having a very large collection. I have approximately over 400 orchids, and so I stretch myself every time I get new ones, but as you know, it's addictive. So that's why more and more a lot of my collection is getting transitioned to self-watering. So during those thirstier times, especially during the growing time, spring through fall, or And when the heat hits in the summer and I've got the air conditioning blaring, I can keep the reservoirs nice and full so they don't get overly dried out. So what I think is going on with my dendrobiums and why I've struggled with them and pests is because of my not keeping them nice and strong and hydrated, because they have consistently gotten wrinkly leaves on me, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta water. And that type of care weakens orchids and makes them more susceptible to spider mites. Now, will it eliminate pest issues on dendrobiums? No. Dendrobiums are very well known for attracting pests. They have so many more, in a lot of ways, easier nook and crannies to hide and get away with festering and growing their nests and doing all this damage. But I know I want my care to be more consistent for them, and I think self-watering is one of the answers for me. The other thing I changed up in my care is I actually give them showers of water. So I not only water them, but close to once a month, every 2 months, I actually take them to the sink and I take my sprayer and I wash them off to try to just wash away any spider mites, because they get dislodged real easy by jets of, or sprays of water. And I really don't have mealybug problems, especially growing indoors. I don't have mealybug problems. And these are all growing in my back grow room, which is, 60s up to the 80s for temperature range. So intermediate to warm temperature range for these. So again, I'm feeling a bit more successful. I can talk to the care. I got one to bloom. Woohoo! It took a long time. These guys got set back so many times by the pest attacks. So I'm just so happy. And again, this is Dendrobium Touch of Peach. And so the next one here is called Dendrobium Jacquelyn Thomas, Wally Murazane. And from what I understand, this is also crossed with potentially a Latoria type. Or no, I'm sorry, an antelope type. So it'll have a little bit of a curl. The classic Dendrobium Phalaenopsis flower looks a lot like a Phalaenopsis flower. This one will have thinner, if I get it to bloom, thinner petals and a little twisty. So I'm kind of on the edge, but it's got Dendrobium Phalaenopsis in it, along with crossed with some, I think a species or, form of antelope type flower. So this one is kind of like my second biggest one. Not much. This really is poor growing for over 3 years, almost 4 years I've had these. But again, they were set back so many times. This is the next one I got at the same time. It's even smaller than these other two, but it's rallied and doing real good. It's the two-tone Zane. And this one will have the classic looking Phalaenopsis flower. This one is a newer acquisition for me. I've only had it for about 8 months, and it bloomed twice for me. This is called Dendrobium Sabin Blue, and I'll put up the picture of what the flowers look like. And so it's potted from the nursery. I got it potted in coconut husk dirt. Sorry. I forget what it's called, but it comes in these blocks, and it works really good. It actually lets the water flow through, but I really do like the bark and moss mix better. But we'll see as time goes on. When I see some new root tips, maybe I'll decide to keep it in that media. I don't know. Haven't fully decided, but most likely I'll transition it and into self-watering. This is the oldest one in my care, and again, it has really, really suffered. It arrived like a really tall, mature plant. It was in bud, so I got a few blooms. If I could dig up the old photos of the pretty flowers, I got a few flowers out of it. I'll try to put it up here for you to see, but then it just got attacked and attacked and attacked, and also was dehydrating a lot, so I added more moss, and it's still a struggle for me to keep up, but you can see kind of a lot of discoloration in the most mature leaves is still evident. So it's been really sickly. It's rallied the past year or so, and it's put all these little growths, so it's almost like it's starting over. So this growth and this growth are the oldest, and these are all the newer ones. They're not getting very tall, so I don't know if it's stunted, I don't know if it's diseased at this point, getting so chewed up a lot by spider mites. But once I see some green root nubbins, I'm going to repot it into self-watering. But look at the damage they do, especially to the underside of the leaves. It's like torture. Poor plant. And then these smaller ones, this is a brand new acquisition. This is Dendrobium Valentine Red number 17. So I got this maybe 4 months ago. So I got it in self-watering. It's small. I'm hoping to see a major difference in more consistent moisture. We'll see if in a year or two it's just as big as these that I've had forever. And if it minimizes keeping it better hydrated, more strongly supported, will keep pest attacks to a minimum. And then I did get, this one is also a newer one, Gift by God. And for some reason, this one just, the spider mites just was like mine, and look at all the damage. So I've had this one a similar time frame. Thankfully, this one didn't suffer so much. It got a little chewed up, but this one just was mucho. So, I was giving it shower every few days. I couldn't see the little buggers, but I was just trying to wash off any pest. And this new growth, I'm not sure it's going to make it, or it'll just turn into a stick without leaves. It's not looking very good, but hopefully it will make a comeback. And now it's in self-watering. The last Denphal I have here is Everlasting Love, and I've had this one just as long as these big ones back here. So I got these 3 and this one at the same time, along with a couple other types that you'll see. And look how tiny it is, and that is because of attack after attack after attack of spider mites. Just awful. The newest growth is looking pretty good. Again, I'm hoping consistent moisture will keep the leaves nice and plump. I think you can see some of the wrinkling going on from the leaves, and that is my awful care. So I'm going to try to do better with them with the self-watering. So if you're interested in learning about the other parts of my dendrobium collection, or the other types I have in my collection, I'm going to segment this now into separate videos, because this one is lengthy enough just on the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis types. So I have several other types I have spread out on this table. And again, if you're interested, I'll be posting the next set of videos here soon. So hope to see you in those videos. Thanks for watching.